Welcome, everybody, to episode 73 of the Peanut Butter and Mountains podcast. So today we have on a dynamic duo that is known for a bunch of really cool achievements in the thru hiking world, among many other things as well. But they've done the CDT, the PCT, the PNT, and they even canoed and thru hiked through the Pacific Northwest Circuit. So something that I've never even heard of. So I would love to explore some of that. And then they're even the developers of a German hiking app pronounced Von der Freund. Okay, yeah. So I wasn't going to say it because I was going to butcher it, but yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later. So yeah, so there's going to be so much for people to learn in this podcast, and I'm so stoked to have you guys on. So welcome to the podcast, Renee and Tim.
Howdy.
Hello.
Really excited to be here.
Awesome. So we're actually talking before the podcast, but we actually met when I was on the CT. They were on the CDT, and we were coming up. Do you guys remember where we were actually, exactly where that was? It's coming out of Breck through Copper Mountain, somewhere around there.
Yeah, going down from Copper Mountain, I think. For us going down, for you going up.
Yeah, so we had a good chat there, and like I was saying, I got freaking smashed by a storm right after that. Had to stay in Copper Mountain, actually. I had to find a hotel, like $200 for the night. I'm like, dude, this is so stupid. But like, anyway, that's how stuff works out. But anyway, yeah, so it's nice to see you guys again. And really, I wanted to kick the podcast off with one of my first questions, which was, a lot of some of the content that you guys have on your Instagram and TikTok feeds is about dehydrating meals, which I find super fascinating because, number one, it takes a lot of time to do, I would imagine. It takes a lot of time but you're doing it for a really good reason. And we kind of talked a little bit before, but you guys don't take a lot of zeros on trail. And in fact, on the PCT, you did 6. The CDT, I think I got in here, you did 2. And then on the PNT, you did 0. So how does dehydrating meals, eating healthy and nutrition on the trail kind of play into those 0 days and, just staying healthy on the trail like that?
Yeah, so before we got into thru hiking, we were doing triathlons and we did an Ironman, and I think that's where we really learned about nutrition and like the importance of fueling your body. And thru hiking is pretty athletic. You're spending all day, every day walking. So we really just pay attention, and our dehydrated meals, we make sure they have a good combination of protein, carbohydrates, and vegetables, because you don't get many of those on the trail sometimes.
Right.
So, but just in general, when we're planning out food for a stretch of trail, we really think about, how many calories do we need? What type of calories should we be grabbing? So it's,
Yeah.
Wow.
I'd agree. I mean, coupled with that, they taste really good. So we match the size to what we want. We like the taste, and that way every night it's not, I have to scarf down some more instant potatoes, but it's something I'm really looking forward to, which makes it easier to eat as much as we need. And then and then they're balanced and
we really try to do a variety of different recipes. So we don't just make the same recipe for every night, but we try to have more like, eat the same thing once every 10 days or something. So we don't get sick of anything either.
Yeah, no kidding. Now, see, because this is so, like, the common thing of a thru hiker, right, is ramen, like you're saying, instant potatoes, a ramen bomb or something like that. And so it's so fascinating to me that you guys stick to that, because you guys must be doing mail drops and stuff throughout the whole trail to do this, right?
Yeah. We've been really lucky that on all of our big trips, we've been able to rope a family member into making trips to the post office during the hike. So Renee's mom did it once, my mom did it once, my sister did it once, and we'll drop off at their house 25 boxes with stickers on each one saying, drop this off at the mailbox or at the post office on this day and this one on this day. And so they'll do that for us, and that's been really helpful, and huge shout out to them. Thanks, Abby and Mom and Beth.
Oh, it does take like a group of people to sometimes get you to the end of stuff like that. Yeah. What now? See, because that's my biggest qualm with thru hiking is I enjoy eating healthy in my regular life. And so I'm always afraid that if I go on this long stint, like my taste buds are gonna be all screwed up when I get back, and like, cause I used to have a really bad like sugar addiction, pretty much, right? Like my middle name is Lawrence, and they used to call me like Sugar Lawrence at my old job because I would just, raid the freaking sugar bin all the time. And so, how do you guys? Because it seems like you guys eat healthy as well. I mean, coming from the Ironman triathlete background and stuff like that, like how do you try to do that as much as possible when you're on these extremely long trails?
We've actually found that, if we, one example is you could get a Snickers bar and eat a Snickers bar for your, we kind of like to get a 200 calorie snack every 5 miles. So one option would be
Okay.
a Snickers bar. But
Yeah.
we found that like the sugar calories just don't keep us full. So we look for, a healthy, not healthier, healthier energy bar that really has the
Right.
protein and less sugar in there, because we've just found that the sugar calories don't keep us full.
Interesting.
We met some hikers once that were doing, they were sick of ramen, they were sick of potatoes. They were doing 100% candy bars as their food. Snickers and Payday and
Yeah.
Twix. They're resupplied. I have a picture of it from the PCT. It's just like 100 candy bars to go from one town to another. And I mean, they finished. So there's lots of ways to do
Yeah, they
this,
finished.
but yeah, that's not quite how we do it. But it is
Yeah.
worth noting that like the number one nutrient, the healthiest nutrient you need on a through hike is calories. So that as long as you're getting those calories one way or another, it works for
Right.
different people in different ways. But yeah, the healthier
Yeah.
stuff is what works for us. Not that we're
Gosh,
totally healthy. We eat junk food out there too, for sure.
right. Yeah. Got to. Well, okay. So kind of going back to those 0 days, like extremely low 0 days on some of these through hikes. What's the purpose behind that? Like, because I'm not a lot of people love taking 0 days. I'm not really one of those people because I'm always afraid that if I stay in town too long, I'm gonna like get complacent and like never come back on the trail. But what's your guys' mentality around that?
I think towns just stress us out. We get into town and there's so many chores. You have to go shopping and check all your emails and messages, and for us it's just stressful,
Yeah.
and we just prefer being out on the trail.
Yeah, I mean we're out there to be on the trail. So the more time
Oh,
cat
the
knocked
cat.
something over. Sorry, that's
That's
noisy.
awesome, dude.
The more time we're actually in the wilderness, the better.
Yeah.
I'd add that oh boy, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, no, I forgot again. I'm sorry.
More time in your wilderness, town stress you out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Pretty much that.
Oh
He's
no,
like-
that was it. I mean, it's not just the food. So eating well and having food with us helps, but also
Yeah.
our approach to hiking makes that possible. So
Okay.
we don't do 40 and 50-mile days, and we bump into people sometimes. I mean, a Colorado trail hiker, I remember really well bumping into this group of two guys who were bragging that they had just done a 50-mile day, and then they took like a 00 afterward. And it was like,
It's like,
oh,
why-
like that's
Yeah.
cool, except
Mhm.
your 00 made that 3 16-mile days in average. And so doing a bunch of 27
Right.
and 30-mile days is slow and steady and gets you there.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Well, how do you guys? What's your guys' day look like on a typical trail like that? Let's just say like the CDT, like waking up to packing to like, and then when's your first break? Yeah, like what's your days look like typically?
We're not quick getting out in the morning. We wake up
Really?
early and then drink a bunch of coffee.
Oh, really?
Oh,
So
yeah.
maybe that's the key, huh?
Uh-huh. That's one of my
Yeah, yeah.
favorite times on a through hike is like between 5 and 7 in the tent when we're just sitting there having breakfast and coffee.
I love it.
And then we get going, and it's every 5-ish miles we're taking a break and having a snack. Lunchtime around, well, that varies. You get-
Usually in the afternoon, maybe around 1 or 2, we stop for a longer lunch break, like an hour, and take a nap. Well, I take a nap.
Yeah.
Renee is
Oh,
every
okay.
day she takes a nap, and I'm
No
like sitting there
kidding.
being bored.
Oh, really? No kidding.
It's tiring. So she'll just lie down
Yeah.
and sleep until I wake her up.
Oh, that's freaking. I bet you feel great though afterwards.
Oh yeah,
Gotta
I
feel
love
great.
it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Cool. Okay. So you take the nap, get up. You got more miles to hike, I guess, before evening.
More miles, yeah. We're usually going sunrise. I mean, not quite sunrise, but
Right.
approximately sunrise to sunset.
Right.
Yep. So yeah, right around sunset, we start looking for a place to camp, and then yep, eat some dinner and go to bed.
Yeah.
So
Gosh. And then you guys got a nice, good dinner that you
yes,
know that you've dehydrated. So you're super freaking stoked probably for that.
yes,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Something else we do that I think is not universal for hikers is we really don't prioritize camping near water. Um, so we usually fill up our water as we're getting close to camp, wherever camp's going to end up being, and then we've got a full load and we can camp anywhere. And
Sure.
by prioritizing dry camping, uh, you get a lot more potentially beautiful sites opened up to you than if you insist on camping right near a cold stream down in a valley or something like
Right.
that.
Without other people around, likely too, because they're always on gut hook, probably looking at frickin' or far out now it's called, but looking at the water source. Oh, I'm gonna camp here for the night, type of
Right,
thing.
right.
yep.
Yeah.
Sometimes camping near people is great. I'm not opposed to that,
Mhm.
but yeah, sometimes it's nice to be somewhere totally
Yeah.
alone and with a nothing but a beautiful view.
Yeah. I actually love camping near people. I like camping near people just because I'm usually going solo.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, you know how it goes. Like solo camping in the woods, that's another level too. You're like, God, dude. So the CDT. So you guys were one of maybe the only people or one of the few that have done the entire route without taking any of the alternates. How did that work out for you guys? Was that like more logistically challenging? Was there any moments there where you're like, damn, I should probably maybe we should do the alternates, or how did that work out?
It was lonely. There's some official routes that are much less popular than the alternates. So
Yeah.
for folks who pay attention to the CDT, you've maybe heard about the Gila Wilderness along the Gila River. That's not actually part of the CDT. That's an alternate. And so that stretch, we went through the Black Range, it's called, which is the CDT. That was pretty lonely. I think we didn't see anybody. And some other stretches like that got lonely, but it was fun doing it that way, having that as our objective and sticking to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
fun challenge. We always like to challenge ourselves, so yeah.
Yeah, right on. So, yeah, and I think, like the CDT is one of those, I mean, that's a pretty wild trail just in and of itself without, probably with taking alternates and stuff like that. And so you guys really hammered that out without them. That's pretty crazy. Cool.
Yeah, and that we didn't realize how rare that would be, but
Okay.
we were just listening to a podcast with Anish hikes,
Oh, yeah.
and she said, "Yeah, I don't think anybody's ever hiked the official trail the whole way." And I mean, others must have. We can't be the only ones, but
Right.
that's really rare to stick to it.
Wow. Now, okay, so did that inspire you guys to then take on the PNT, the Pacific Northwest Trail?
Yes, sort of in a weird way.
Yeah.
As we were kind of getting towards the end of the CDT, we were like just tired and thinking, okay, next year we're gonna do a cool hike, but maybe we should include something that's not on our feet because our feet are really tired and
Totally.
we're starting to get plantar fasciitis
Totally.
and so we started dreaming of a canoe trip, and we didn't have the internet out there, so we were just kind of thinking, what do we know? And we were thinking, okay, well, the Pacific Northwest Trail could be combined with the Columbia River somehow, just because that was just in our heads what we could think of when we were out on the CDT.
Yeah. So then we got back, we looked at the maps, and we said, "Oh yeah, we could connect the PNT, the Pacific Northwest Trail, to the Great Divide Trail, which is Canada's CDT, and then it's just a 50-mile connection to the start of the Columbia River." And that ended up being our route. And we were totally wrong about this dream we had that, oh, it's going to be so easy to just float down the
Right.
river, you know,
Interesting.
no problem. And that ended up being a very challenging trip. but in our minds, when we set out to do it, it was going to be a breeze.
Always is, right? I heard this quote once. It was like, we don't do it because, oh, I'm gonna butcher this, dude. It's like we do it not because it's hard, but because we thought it would be easy or something like that. It's like, oh my God, it's like with everything, right? So yeah, tell me a little more about your guys' experiences on the PNT then. Like, it sounds like that was a pretty wild, rugged, maybe a lot of things unexpected came up. Like, what were maybe some things that stick out in your head with that one?
Yeah, so we started by hiking the Pacific Northwest Trail, and we did it kind of the opposite direction most people do it. So that ended up being pretty lonely. We went, from the ocean eastbound. So we didn't see anyone going our direction. We crossed maybe, what did we count? Maybe 40 hikers going the opposite direction.
Wow.
So pretty lonely compared to the PCT or even the CDT, actually.
Right.
And there was a tight weather window. So we were pushing to start in mid-June, and we did that. But then right at the beginning of that trail are the Olympic Mountains on the Olympic Peninsula. And they were still just very covered in snow.
Oh, I remember some videos that you guys had with this.
Yeah, that's like the only time that we've departed from an official trail is we were on the PNT crossing, it's called the High Divide route over the mountains in the Olympics, and we couldn't do it. I actually slipped off the mountain and crashed into a tree, and
No.
yeah, I kind of busted my shoulder, and we said, "No, this is stupid. Let's just be safe." So we turned around, and going down after having that little slip, I was like a baby.
Yeah.
We were trying to just go backwards on this trail we had already walked, and
Which wasn't really a trail. It was just footsteps in the snow on the side of a mountain. But
our
Sure.
footsteps because nobody
yeah.
else had done it.
Yeah.
And I just started trying to walk down the mountain into nothing. And Renee said, "Tim, where are you going?" I said, "I just got to go down." And she said, "But that's not going to get you back. That's not going to get you anywhere. You're just going to slip down there." And no, I just have to go down. And I was terrified. But she talked me into it, and we made it back to below the snow, and then we went on. There was a great trail on the peninsula called the Olympic Discovery Trail, which was more of a bike trail that took us around the mountains instead of straight over them.
Wow, dude. Oh my gosh, man. What an experience that was. And okay, so then talk to me about the canoeing. Like, what well, one, it was probably great to get in the canoe at first, where you're feeling, oh, I'm gonna cross train, it's kind of like a cross train, right? And
Yeah.
get off of the feet for a little bit.
Yeah.
But then it sounds like you guys kind of found out that maybe it was tougher than than you thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, well, I mean, after hiking for, I don't know how many days it was, but we didn't have any arm muscles, that's for sure.
Oh.
So,
Mhm.
and it turns out the Columbia River has like a lot of dams. So the river isn't
Mm.
necessarily a river. Most of it is a lake. So
Right.
yeah, we weren't floating down with the current. Most of it we had to really actually paddle hard to make miles. So
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And we had decided that a continuous footpath is often what people are doing, where they're connecting every footstep from beginning to end and no skips or anything like that. So we were doing a continuous foot/paddle path. So there were these 14 dams that we had to portage around, and it's not like you just get out
Unreal.
and carry your
Yeah.
canoe 100 feet and get back in. The longest one was 3 miles of carrying the canoe. Um, so we figured out a system where we could have our backpacks on and have the canoe kind of balanced on top of them. But it was this wooden canoe that I built, which isn't
Oh,
that heavy,
sweet.
but it's not that light. So the canoe itself is about 60 pounds, and yeah, that was tough. Like it was doable, but it was tough.
yeah, you think of like a canoe trip and you have all sorts of gear and food and stuff, but no, we really had to do it ultra light with just our backpacks so that we
Right.
could portage, these 3 miles one time. So
Unreal.
But it was
Now
awesome. Like the
yeah.
we we want to do more canoe trips.
Oh,
We've
okay.
chuckled that next time we want to do slower canoe trips where we we had a weather window we had to catch on the other end too, that if we didn't finish by September, the Pacific Northwest becomes just a rainstorm
100%.
constantly. So we wanted to get done. Um, so we were pushing, and I think if I could cut our river time in half or double it, so we went half as many miles per day, it still would have been a challenge, but it would have been a much more enjoyable challenge. It was
Interesting.
enjoyable, don't get me wrong, but a much more low key challenge.
Yeah. Well, it was your first, I mean, it sounds like it was your first experience with the canoe doing that type of stuff. So, I mean, you probably learned a bunch of stuff for next time. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we learned so much. I mean, we had done maybe one or two, weekend canoe trips before this, but yeah,
Right.
that was it.
Yeah. Now, the Columbia River, I mean, I used to live in Oregon, so I know that it can be freaking windy through, it's like a wind tunnel. So I'm hoping, did you guys like go with the, like, did you guys experience like pretty high wind events through there? Because I mean, you had to be going past there where there's people kiteboarding and stuff like that, because that's very
Yes.
popular and stuff.
That
So
was
like,
the worst.
did you have,
Passing the
Yeah, I
kiteboarders.
bet.
If the kiteboarders were out, that meant we shouldn't be on it. But we were. No, mostly
Right.
we didn't have debilitating wind except for one day when we were going right through what's notoriously the windiest spot, and we launched the canoe thinking, oh, it looks bad, but we can maybe make it. And as we got out into the river, we decided, I mean, we couldn't measure, but our estimate was that the waves were 8 feet from top to trough. And so we were going to flip, and we just got to shore as soon as we could and ended up uh, at a Native American fishing camp, which
Oh,
we
wow.
officially weren't allowed to be at, but the people there were super nice and let us spend the day there and hang out. And
Yeah, and we left the next day when the wind had died down.
yeah,
Was that the Columbia River Gorge, I think?
yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
It's really cool how those serendipitous moments happen on the trail, right? And actually, I guess that kind of prompts a question in my head. What has been maybe the most, this is probably going to be hard because you guys have hiked a lot of miles. So, do any really big serendipitous moments come to your head when you guys have been on trail? Maybe you're feeling low and something happens, or there's trail magic, or you know how it goes. What moments, I guess, kind of come to your mind?
Oh, good question. I mean, that's one of them. Spending the day at this fishing camp with some really cool people. I got to help one guy rebuild his boat. Uh, it was
So
just
cool.
really special, really fun, and great to be a part of a community that that I wouldn't have had the chance to be a part of otherwise.
Wanted to pop in here quick to tell you guys about something that you are going to absolutely love. So, for a limited time, I'm actually offering my free outdoor goals Notion template. I'm actually selling this on Etsy for $8, but I'm offering it free for everybody that's listening to the podcast right now for a limited time. I'm not sure when I'm going to be taking this down. What this is storing all of your information, like your flights, the dates that you're going to go, your calendar, your beta for the adventure, the partners you're going with. It assembles everything all in one area. There's no more fumbling around with trying to cross-reference notes that you copy and pasted off of a blog on your Word document, but then you also have flights on your phone. It's all going to be in one place. What I like to do with it, I like to create all my goals ahead of time, block out all those dates. I know when I'm going to be going. I know what the goal is. It's templated, so you have all the things that you need to fill out, like permits and everything, in the actual database. So no worrying about having to recreate everything. And here's actually a quick email that I just received randomly from a person that actually picked it up. He said, your info has been the most helpful out of all of the hikers on various platforms that I follow. Specifically, your outdoor goals Notion template has been great, not just for planning purposes, but for motivation, as I can see my next year's adventures in a snapshot. I now use Notion for organizing pretty much everything in my life, including work. So that's what we're trying to do for you guys. We're trying to help you out. And so, again, I'm offering this free outdoor goals planning list template for free for a limited time. Grab it now in the show notes below. Back to the episode.
One thing we love are the on bigger trails. You get the trail stops that are popular for hikers,
Right.
like on the Pacific Crest Trail. There's some towns where trail angels really set up a nice community space for hikers. When we did it,
Right.
Hiker Heaven was a big spot. I think they're not doing much anymore, but going to a place where you have somebody letting you do laundry, giving you
Right.
just nice outdoor space to hang out with hikers and take a break. That's really fun and really special.
Yeah. Ah, cool. Cool. Well, I guess that kind of leads me into now you guys have hiked about 1,000 miles or so on German hiking trails. How do those differ from these US trails? Is there like the same thing with do they have trail angel? Is it popular? What's that like? What's the experience like over there?
I would say it's pretty different. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, Germany doesn't really have a wilderness. They have a lot of people in a small space. So,
Interesting.
pretty much you're hiking through the woods and the farms, but you go through a town every couple of miles or a small little
Yeah.
community. And there's lots
Yeah.
of beer gardens along the way, so you can stop and have a beer every day, at least once a day.
Or a coffee.
Interesting,
There's beer
really.
gardens, there's cafes, there's bratwurst. Um,
Oh.
but it's
Yeah, it's a different different type of hiking, but yeah, still a lot of fun.
and
Yeah.
for most of Germany, wild camping, they call it, is not allowed. Um, which is which is weird because they also have these huts along the trail that are sort of open air huts, kind of like a lean-to, that are basically designed for wild camping. Um,
Right.
so that's a strange part of German hiking is that you're not allowed to camp, but they're
Everyone does.
everyone does. They're building these things to encourage you to camp. So uh,
Weird.
it's different, but it's fun. Yeah, and the trails
Is
are shorter. They have a lot of named long distance trails that are 100 miles, give or take. So those
Wow.
1,000 miles are on a collection of these middle distance type of trails.
Got you.
But
Now is Oh yeah, go ahead, Renee.
oh yeah, just it was really cool doing all these different trails in all different parts of Germany because we got to experience the cultures and going through these towns you get to, interact with
Right.
people of different areas of Germany and we learned a lot about Germany and had a lot of good experiences.
Yeah, and we lived there for 4 years, and typical American living in Germany. What do? Well, you go to Berlin and you go to Munich and you go to Hamburg. We did some of that, but mostly
Right.
we were doing these hikes and going through teeny tiny towns and getting a much more cultural experience.
Oh, that gives me the chills right there because I've told people that my favorite way to experience I've only through hiked in the states and things, but my favorite way to experience a culture is actually through hiking through that state. I think it's just such a great way to because I've never been to the East Coast, right? And so I'm gonna go do the long trail this year.
Nice.
And so I feel like it's such a great way to experience Vermont that kind of how you were saying, like, oh, like the typical American will go to Berlin, Munich, and all that. But when you're actually immersed in the culture, you're seeing and meeting people that are locals and you're getting a totally different perception.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
love that.
people like to say in Germany, everybody speaks English. No, they don't in the tiny towns. They've never heard a word of English in some of those tiny towns. So
Interesting. Yeah. Now, was this what inspired you guys to create the app, the Wanderfront?
yeah, you got Wanderfreund.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, more or less. We had done the Pacific Crest Trail, and then we moved right after the PCT. We moved to Germany for work, and we wanted to do through hikes. We found these middle distance trails that are for through hiking, but
Yeah.
the only apps were like uh, not good, and so
Not good. Not good.
I was gonna name some, but I won't name them.
Yeah,
They're good
yeah,
for what
yeah,
they do, which is shorter
yeah.
hikes. Like for day hikes, you've got a different set of needs in an app. And so we were
Sure.
hiking with our friend Parmesan, who we met on the PCT, who lives in Germany, and we were making our own like Google Maps essentially to do these hikes, and that was working. And we were joking. We called his Parmesan hooks, like gut hooks, but Parmesan.
Yeah. Oh,
And
I love that.
and my trail name had been Sausage on the PCT. So when I made the map, we called it Sausage Hooks, and we said we really need to bring this um, to these German trails, and that started off as a dream, and then we figured out coding and developed it and
Wow.
launched it, and it's now out there, downloadable on the App Store.
So is it kind of like Far Out Guides, Gut Hooks type thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's similar.
Similar. Mhm.
We definitely
Wow.
didn't try to mirror that. We tried to put our own twist on it, but without a doubt,
Right.
it's inspired by that type of through hiking.
Wow. Now, wow. So you had to learn coding, you had to do all of this. What was that? I mean, that had to be pretty tough, huh? I mean, that's a different type of endurance to go through and try to create an app rather than a physical endurance of a through hike and stuff.
Yeah. It was during COVID, so it was kind of a good COVID project. We had some
Nice.
extra time on our hands, and yeah, Tim and I did the coding, and we kind of did partner coding, sitting side by side at the computer.
We were
Love
often with
that.
one screen and two keyboards, and
Oh my
and helping each
gosh.
other through it. And we're
I
both
love it.
technical. Renee's an engineer. I'm a
Right.
geneticist. I've been writing code for a long time for my job, but a different type of code. This writing an app was a whole new beast.
Now, not to go too far down this, but I have do you guys use like the AI tools? I mean, could you use the AI tools for that nowadays probably with like coding? That would probably help, huh?
Yeah, I think that would be a big help. But yeah.
Right.
No.
I mean, what in 2020, what everybody used, including
Right.
us, is Stack Overflow, which is this website where basically just people are having conversations about how to make this code work right. And not just
Yeah.
Stack Overflow, but like if you get an error, you copy paste it into Google and see what are the people saying on message boards about this error.
Right.
I think now ChatGPT helps a ton, but it's
Yeah.
wrong all the time. I think it's a tool that would help, but it's not quite a tool that will write an app for you yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Now, okay, so you guys have done tons of trails and tons of different environments and things like that. And so I would love to hear from each of you, what is your like favorite environment to hike through? Is it like, open vistas or is it a canopy of trees? Like what's your favorite type of climate and stuff to hike through?
Um. So that's a hard one.
I can answer. I was
Okay,
going to have you go
answer.
first because
Okay.
I know your answer.
I
So
know where it's
for me, it's a desert. It's
right.
just so easy to camp and hike in the desert. Like, granted, it can be hot, that can be hard, but aside from that, you've got no bugs, tons of space to put a tent. It's not like trying to
Right.
put a tent down in Washington where there's no ground.
Totally.
But you put your tent anywhere, there's no bugs. You're pretty clean because instead of dirt, you've got sand or rocks. Um, it's just so easy. And so definitely for me, the desert is a big win. I mean, I like it all, and I'm discouraged
Right.
that I can't do more hiking in the plains because for some reason we got rid of most of our plains and have a bunch of farms.
Mhm.
But the desert is what stands out for me.
Oh, cool. I actually I agree with that. And I love that you can just see so freaking far all the time and the sunrises, the sunsets are amazing all the time. You can just throw out your thing, cowboy camp if you want to. Yeah, so
Yep.
easy.
Yep.
Nice.
I think one of my favorite places of all my through hikes has been the California Sierra Nevada mountains.
Sure.
It's really cool. I think on the PCT we counted that we hiked, was it 20 days without crossing a road? I mean, there's not many
Yeah.
places you can do that in the
No.
US. So that was, yeah, I love it there.
100%. I did the John Muir Trail northbound, and so I started up and I hit the PCT at one point, whatever. But yeah, throughout the whole time, like you never saw a road till the last day or whatever when you get into Yosemite. I'm like, dude, it is. And every time I would get to a peak, I'd think that I'd get service. Nah, dude, I didn't have service the whole time, man.
No, there's no
Nothing.
service through there.
There is no
Elsewhere, you
service.
get to a peak, it's a good spot to check for service, but
I know,
not
but
so
like
much through the
not in
Sierra.
the Sierra.
I mean,
No.
the Sierras are special because they they really maintain it for wilderness more so than
Totally.
almost anywhere else. Like Colorado is maintained for wilderness and for mining and for four-wheel drive vehicles. And the Sierras
Right.
are just out there.
Yeah, totally. Now, obviously, so you guys are obviously doing all of this together, right? How how do you guys handle communication, decision making, and like supporting each other during these long events? And I know you guys probably get this question a lot, but I think it's very interesting to people that either like want to through hike with a couple or as a couple and don't want to break up within the third day, type of thing. It's like how do you guys do that? And do you have any advice for couples that might be trying to take on something like that together?
Yeah, yep. It's funny you mentioned that. We met this guy on our Pacific Crest Trail through hike, and he had hiked it before, and he was just back doing some trail magic, and he was like, "You shouldn't be sharing a tent. You should each have your own tent. You should have your own gear." My girlfriend and I broke up in 1,000 miles in, and he was convinced we were going to break up. but but actually, I mean, so everyone's different, but we we found that, for little things, for example, if we want to stick together and hike together, I should hike in front because I'm the slower hiker. So that
Mhm.
just little tricks over the years we've found. What else?
When the terrain gets tough, that's when we can start to have a harder time matching each other's mentality and speed. So we try to be careful on hard terrain because when something's physically challenging, that gets in your head also. And yeah, so we have some tricks in those types of situations. Sometimes our trick is just to hike a little farther apart. Not that we don't like each other, but just that either of us trying to match the other pace or be pressured by the other person um is not as easy as just strolling along on the flat ground.
Yeah, so if
Yeah.
there's like a mountain pass or something, Tim will go first and meet me at the top.
Yeah.
And then gear, we succeed at sharing gear. People on the internet think it's ridiculous that we share a spork when we're out there, but it works. It's we have a small pot, so we pass the pot and spork back and forth, and don't
Oh,
really need a
dang.
second spork.
Yeah, it's all about weight savings right there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah, I mean,
Well,
if we do get into a little argument or something, the best, solution we've found is just hike separately for an hour, and then it's all better when we see each other again.
yeah.
And maybe one more thing along those lines is I think we we tend to be not tramlied up with others. So on long trails, a lot of people will link up with a trail family and then be sort of, make decisions in that family. Um, we don't do that with other hikers, but obviously we do it 100% with each other. Uh, so I think we get some sort of simplicity by having the two of us being able to make decisions together, being totally
Yeah.
on the same page about should we go into this town, should we stop for a break, that type of stuff. It's nice to have somebody to bounce ideas off of and come up with a plan together.
I freaking love that. No, where did you guys meet like originally? How did you
University of
guys
Wisconsin, right? That's where you went too, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, well, I lived in Wisconsin. I wasn't smart enough for the University of
Oh,
Wisconsin. I went to Winona State in Minnesota, right across the Mississippi there.
yeah.
Nice.
But
Mhm.
but yeah, no. So you guys met in Wisconsin. No
Yeah.
kidding.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
at a football game. I think Renee's freshman
Huh.
year, my sophomore year.
And then just kind of been together ever since.
Yep, yep. It's been a long time.
Well, those football games get pretty rowdy over
Yes,
there,
they
especially
do.
you guys. I'm guessing you guys were in the student section over there.
Oh, of
Yes.
course. Yeah. Jump around.
Jump around. I was just gonna say, jump around cry came on, man. That's so cool, man. So yeah. I mean, obviously, I was raised in Wisconsin as well. Now, how long were you guys in Wisconsin? Was it only for college, or how long of a stint there?
I'm from Wisconsin originally, so I
Oh,
was
no
in.
kidding.
Yep, I'm from Madison area.
Okay.
So
And I'm from Chicago. Um, and we met in college, and then I did all of my grad school there. So I did a bachelor's, master's, and PhD at University of Wisconsin, and that was 9 years, and then we
Wow.
moved from there.
Wow, dude. Okay. Well, that's funny. I just flew out of Madison last week because I was flying out of the Dane County Airport, the huge airport that we have there and
Yeah.
stuff. And yeah, I just went home for Thanksgiving. But
Oh, we were
man,
just
that's
there
cool.
too. We should have said hi.
Oh, really?
We were in
Interesting.
Rhinelander for Thanksgiving.
Oh,
Northern
got you.
Wisconsin.
Okay. Yeah, northern Wisconsin. Yeah, I was in. You know where the Wisconsin Dells is, probably.
Mhm.
Yep.
Imagine. Yeah, I'm like right outside of there, Mauston, Wisconsin. So
Nice.
little town.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, that's cool, dude. Well, so I would be totally remiss as well if I never asked you guys about gear, because everybody loves gear, especially when they listen to podcasts and videos and all of that type of stuff. So, what are maybe your top 2 favorite pieces of gear that each of you guys have that have really kind of helped you guys along these trails, or provides comfort, or what is it that you couldn't live without, I guess, type of thing, right? For gear.
My closed foam sleeping pad, the accordion sleeping pads. I love that thing. It's always on the top of my pack. If I need a break, just take it off and throw it on the ground and have a nice place to sit. And yeah, I love it.
Unreal. So you can, and it's comfortable to sleep on.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. I don't know. One time we had a bad experience with we were actually camping in Wisconsin, in the winter. We did a little snowshoe overnight loop, and we had 2 blow-up inflatable sleeping pads, and one of them popped. And it was
0 degrees out.
It was the worst night ever. It was so cold.
I love it.
And so, yeah, ever since then, we switched to the foam pads, and they're comfortable for us. I know not everyone likes them, but they work for us.
No,
And
that's awesome.
I think on that trip, a wise hiker, even one who likes inflatables, you should carry both. If it's going to be that dangerously cold, 2 sleeping pads is a good idea because
100%.
Because it's dangerous when you don't have it. But at that point, we didn't know as much about what we're doing, so that was a rookie mistake that we haven't made since.
Yeah. So what's your gear?
I think for me, I like to say it's the cooking kit that we have. I like the food out there so much. We have this nice little system with a self-contained pot and stove, and it has a heat sink. So a cooking kit with a heat sink, I really, really like. I'll never go without a heat sink.
What is a heat sink?
Oh, like a heat exchanger. If this was a YouTube more than a podcast, I'd go grab it for you. But on the bottom of the pot, there's extra metal coils that grab the heat. And we've done some experiments. It saves about 30% of the boil time, which means between towns we can go longer.
I love that you guys did an
of fuel.
experiment on that. Oh my gosh, I love that. That's so funny.
Anything to be out there in the wilderness.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Perfect. Well, those
the
were
other
great
thing
answers.
that I should mention, I'm looking at the video, I keep seeing my watch, is GPS. We've been hiking with GPS for all of our through hikes. When we finish, we get back and analyze all the data and
make a map.
Yeah, build a map that you can explore and see the daily miles and daily everything. And it really, for us, for me at least, it adds a ton to the experience to get all that data and be able to dive into it.
Oh yeah. Well, that makes sense. And especially you guys seem very analytical too. Just with your jobs and what you guys have done, doing for careers and stuff. So I bet that you love that stuff, coming back and looking at all the stats.
Yeah, we're nerds, I guess you could say.
That's so cool, dude. That's awesome. Well, so I didn't do a good job at this. So remember, I posted a Q&A for you guys the other day, asking my audience to give me some questions for you guys. And I actually, typically before a podcast, I go through that and then I put it in my script. I didn't do that, unfortunately. I'm just doing that. I'm doing this totally off the cuff right now, but I always love kind of getting some AMAs from the audience here. So I have my phone pulled up right now. So I'm just going to shoot off of the hip here, see what
All
see
right.
what we got
I mean,
here.
there's some standards that we always get, right? Do you guys have sex in the forest?
Yeah, I
that's
know, right?
always
Oh, I'm
coming through
sure.
as a question.
Oh, I'm sure there's probably one of those. Let's see here. So, okay, how about so MMW Blues says they are fun to follow. Would love to know how they afford to do all that hiking. I'm sure you guys get that question a lot.
Yeah.
Yep. And yeah, I'm a mechanical engineer, and
I'm a plant geneticist. I work on genetics of plants.
yep.
So they let you guys just take these extended periods of time off?
Not quite. We live below our means when we are in normal life, and
which is something we kind of learned from through hiking too. You don't
100%.
you don't need a lot when you're out there on the trails. So at home, that has really translated to our life at home.
Yeah. And then we have savings and can take some risks. So multiple times we've sat down with our companies or employers and told them that we plan to quit. And sometimes that leads to quitting, and other times that's led to them saying, "Oh no, don't quit. If you leave, you can come back after the trip's over." But it's been really surprising and empowering to realize that we can be tied to the things that we want to do, despite having careers that aren't traditionally compatible with disappearing for 4 months.
I love that. And I think you guys touched on a really important point, especially as a thru hiker. Like when you come back from a thru hike, right? You kind of have that like thru hike mentality, and I've just noticed my life gets more minimal. Like I don't need X, Y, and Z. And like you can really, I mean, it's very palatable to see. I mean, you can see it compared to somebody that has never thru hiked before, how different your mentality is when you get back into the real life and how much less stuff you need. It's
Yes.
absolutely, but it's almost like a superpower because like you said, now your expenses are low. You can go out, you can afford to do some of these trips. Yeah. What do you guys think about that?
I agree 100%. We were just talking about it in that the way I look at sort of luxury in life isn't, oh, can I get a Mercedes? Can I get a huge house or whatever? But it's, can I have these moments that are a little bit better than my standard? And one way to get that is by always having those moments, and then your standard goes up. But the other way is to keep your expectations low, and then if you treat yourself to a Taco Bell, it can be pretty nice. I love Taco Bell, and I've kept that as a special treat, not as a expectation, right? So that approach, you can have, I think, the same amount of joy from luxuries, whatever those luxuries are, as long as they feel special.
Oh, I love that. I love that. How, like when you guys go out on one of these long trips, right? What I've noticed for myself is that it's when I get back home, my gratefulness for regular stuff increases. Filtered water, super easy to get at the sink or whatever, all that type of stuff, foods in the cupboards and all of that. I don't have to sit there and do all that. I've found though that it's proportional it's almost like 1-for-1 proportional to the amount of time that I've spent out there to the amount of time that I feel grateful for when I get back for me. How's that experience been for you guys? Like when you guys get back, what's like the gratefulness scale? Is it increased, decreased? How long does that last?
Yep. I think, our first thru hike, the Pacific Crest Trail, was, I don't know, 4.5 months. And after that trail, it took a long time for us to
Really?
get back into, normal mentality of real life. We moved into a new apartment in Germany and refused to buy furniture for a while. Like we got $7 chairs at a thrift store and used beer cases as the footstools.
I think my experience a little different from yours, Chad.
Good.
The longer we're out there, I think the less I appreciate that stuff when we get back. So
Interesting.
I don't miss sleeping in a bed. I don't miss simple water.
Huh.
I don't even miss showering, right? Like I get used to
Yeah.
showering once a week. That's enough.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get back, it's like, oh, I have to shower every day to fit in. So I think the longer I'm out there, the less I want the comforts of society. Does that line up
Oh,
with you?
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. That makes sense. Well, when you said you guys got a new apartment and you refused to get furniture, so like where I moved in here, well, I moved in here at first with a girlfriend at the time, and then we broke up, and then obviously she had the furniture, so she took the furniture, and I refused to get furniture too. I was like, unless I see it free on Facebook Marketplace, I ain't buying it.
Yeah.
And so my landlord came over once for something, and I I was like, oh yeah, you must have like saw that I had. She was laughing basically that I had no furniture in here. She's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, some people are just they don't want furniture and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you don't ever see that, right? But like,
Yeah.
We bumped into somebody in Montana who had been watching our videos. We just crossed paths at a grocery store. He was we chatted for a while. He was super friendly truck driver, and he said that like we were with him as he was driving across the country and we were hiking and so on. And then he said at the end, but I have a question for you guys. Like whenever I see videos of your house, there's nothing in it. You just don't have any furniture, right? We said, oh, nobody's noticed that before, but yeah, that's true. But here we are. We're sitting on a couch right now. This is our first couch in years. We decided to get some furniture after
Yeah.
this most recent move of ours.
Well, not much
Oh.
furniture, but a couch.
yeah. Well, congrats on that, guys. I love that. That's so funny. Awesome. Okay. Let's see. I'll do a couple more here and we'll wrap this baby up. So, okay. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. Angel Liquil Lauren. I don't know. What's the scariest thing you've had to deal with while out in the great wide open?
I think there was one water crossing that was for me that was the scariest moment on trail. It was on the Pacific Northwest circuit. On the Pacific Northwest Trail, we got to all the snow was melting, so all the rivers were really high. We got to this one stream crossing, walked up and down it. We're like, there's no way we can cross this tonight. So we're like, we camped and waited for the morning. The water level went down maybe 6 inches. And we stupidly decided, yep, we can cross it now.
I think we decided we would test and see, but once you're halfway out, it's hard to go back.
So
right.
Yep.
Wow.
So we kind of started going across it. There were some deep sections. I don't know. Maybe Tim can tell the story.
I mean, it was really deep. It was up past my waist and like up to Renee's chest and moving fast. And we were trying to hold hands and just
past your waist. Wow.
Oh yeah, and fast.
And ice cold because it was melting snow.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So Renee ended up falling, and she fell at this point where from my angle I could see we were already across. So I think I kind of tossed her. We were holding hands and I pushed her that way. But she was looking downriver and she couldn't really see that she had made it. So for all she knew, she was getting swept away. And she lost a hiking pole. We survived, but afterward it was just one of those moments of, we had a couple of these on the Pacific Northwest circuit. We told you about one of them earlier, that we kept getting ourselves into situations where we were saying afterward, that's not really what we came out here to do. We don't want to push ourselves so much that it's dangerous. But it happened a couple times.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
And it's gotta be.
I mean, I lost my footing, and I would have, if Tim wouldn't have had my hand and thrown me towards the shore, I would have been going down river.
No way.
So,
Oh my God.
Yep,
Okay. And it makes it even worse that it's so freaking cold too,
yeah.
probably.
Yep.
You said
just can't
something
even
a little
think.
while ago on one of your podcasts that those hard moments are when you get your camera out and film. And man, we are so bad at that. Those hard moments are when the last thing that enters our minds are getting the camera out. So all the good stuff like that is missing from our, I mean, not all of it, but the really tough stuff is, or in the rain or in bad weather. Who wants to get their camera out when it's cold?
It's the worst, dude. But it is so good to look back on.
Oh
It
yeah.
makes
I
for
mean, every
it
time
makes for
it's
the
like,
best content.
yeah, but we miss it.
I was just talking to legend Jeff Garmeyer yesterday, and he was talking about, because they filmed him doing the Colorado Trail fastest known time, which he did in like 9 days and 18 hours or something like that. And he was like, yeah, man, I think they were actually surprised at how much footage they had to go through from what I kept giving him. He's like, because I was filming myself throwing up, and you know, he went 24 hours without food, so he was like filming that. It was like a whole crazy thing.
Wow.
I was like, good job, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, we'll go with one more. All right, let's see here. How about? Okay, how about? Okay, this is from RIAAZ. Do your bodies have any long-term damage from so much through hiking, or do you have any current injuries?
I think mostly no. I guess maybe the one is like plantar fasciitis. That one keeps coming up if I don't stretch or treat my body well. It comes back.
Yeah, our feet are long term bigger, but
that's
that's
true.
not really damaged.
Have gotten bigger.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you've had to increase the shoe size every year or so.
Yeah.
Yep.
And not at first, like after the Pacific Crest Trail, I think we both kind of went back to normal. But after the Continental Divide Trail and the Pacific Northwest Circuit, we both have increased our town shoe size also.
Yeah, I
So-
think I went from like a size 6.5 to 8. So like not small.
Nice.
Yeah, that's just from stretching out the bones, I guess, and flattening the feet a little bit. But that's not damage, just a change.
Right.
Coming off the CDT, I had some fairly long-term damage, but it went away eventually, which was Colorado, right where we saw you, Chad. It was just so dang wet, and walking in wet shoes all the time, I formed some fissures in my foot, and so that's like a big crack in the skin. Yeah, and I think it took 6 or 12 months for the big fissure I had to fully heal, but it's fully healed now. So
okay, so that's what those are called. So was it like in your on the heels?
You can get them there. For me, it was between my big toe and second biggest toe.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah, dude. Well, that was a wet year for Colorado, is from what I hear with the storms. I mean, those storms were lasting forever.
We started out not knowing about waterproof socks. So that was when we learned of waterproof socks. And in that type of situation from then on, that's been a standard item in our packs to repel some water. You're giving a confused look. You don't use waterproof socks?
I didn't know anything about them.
Oh, they're the best. They're kind of like neoprene type of material that you can slip on over your regular sock, and they keep your feet dry. Not totally. If you're going through deep water, it'll get wet, but just having less water rushing really helps. And then you can still go with good trail running shoes and not quite get as wet in the feet.
Unreal. No, I had the same fissures from, and you're right, dude. It takes forever to heal.
Yeah, because I think all the skin, all those layers of skin have to grow beyond them. And there's a lot of layers of skin on the bottom of your foot.
Right. Yeah, because I got it. We were doing a split boarding objective, and I basically was wearing wet split boarding shoes or boots for miles and miles and miles, and it just took all summer. I mean, I actually looked at them yesterday. I was like, damn, these actually look good finally. So
Nice.
I think they finally healed. Yeah.
Well, now it's split boarding season again. They can come right
and
back.
now it's here. Yeah. Here it comes again. So yeah. Well, guys, we're already at an hour. That was freaking awesome. You guys are some of my favorite people definitely to follow on all the social channels, TikTok and Instagram. You guys are always putting out really valuable stuff, and just, I don't know, you guys are just very genuine people, and it's fun to have you guys on here and talk and have my audience learn a little bit more about you. So where can people catch up with you guys at? What's your favorite channel to lead people to?
Oh boy, favorite.
Um,
So we're Thru Hikers. That's the name on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube.
and we have a website,
Right.
thruhikers.co.
Yeah, and that's got some more in-depth stuff, a few gear reviews, but a lot of
Mhm.
recipes. People are
Ooh.
sometimes commenting on the videos, can we get some recipes? And it's like, yeah, they're on the website.
Nice.
Yeah, so I think that's a good spot to check out. And, stay tuned. We've got some cool stuff coming in the next year.